Hello everybody, what's going on? This is Word here, and I'm starting out on ×2, but I'm bringing it back down to normal speed as we get into what is going to be a clan war between XO Gaming and Clarity Gaming. Now the format of this clan war is going to be best of 7, King of the Hill style, meaning that if one person wins, they go on to face the next person, so there's potential for one person to win the whole thing, but the general format is of course a best of 7, first team to 4 wins takes it all. And why don't we go ahead and introduce our players. The blue Protoss here in the lower left of Daybreak, playing for Clarity Gaming. His name is cShew, and he is going up against Pulse, the red Protoss player from XO Gaming, also known as Hug and Kiss. And this will be the first match of this best of 7 clan war. And again, it's an all-kill format, so if cShew wins, he will go on to face the next competitor, and the same goes for Pulse. We're going to have a PvP here on Daybreak to open this up. Now, I am currently testing a new way to record my videos. It's not necessarily new, I've done it before, but I'm having problems with Audacity. You may have noticed that in a few of my other videos, my audio had a sort of crackle to it every now and then, and it was really, really awful. And I'm like, oh no, my microphone must have broken somehow. I don't know, maybe the cat knocked it over. So I filed a claim, and then in the middle of getting my claim, I realized, you know what? When I talk with people on Skype, they don't hear any crackling, so it can't be this. So it's something in Audacity, which is the program I normally use to record my audio, and it kind of goes off and on. Sometimes it'll be perfect, sometimes it'll have little crackles. Currently, I am simply recording the audio with Fraps, which I usually do just the video with, and I add in the audio with Audacity because it has better quality. However, slightly less quality is much preferable to any sort of crackling. But I'll try, if I remember, to record every other game with Audacity. So this will be a Fraps game, next game will be Audacity, the game after that will be Fraps, and so on. So just so you guys know what's going on, that's what's going on. And we are going to see that cShew here has gotten a little bit of an earlier gas than his opponent Pulse. Now, in PvP, it's very delicate. We also see that Pulse only has 2 in gas here, and it's really hard to tell what people are doing, even when they do different things like this. Of course, you'll see players get 2 gas really fast, but only put 2 in each, and then go for some kind of blink aggression, but usually a robo expand. So I don't want to read too much into what either of these players are doing until we do see their choice of tech, be it Twilight Council, Stargate, or Cybernetics Core. I'm not Cybernetics Core, I'm sorry, Robo. Because otherwise, I would just be making guesses based on absolutely nothing, because I don't really know either of these playstyles particularly well. I hope to become more familiar with them. But at this point, it would all be conjecture, and nobody likes any of that. So we're going to see Zealot Stalker coming out here for cShew, and he actually does have a bit of Chrono Boost saved up, but there he's jumping in on the gate, so you're not going to be anything too aggressive out of him. Meanwhile, Pulse is going to get out a Zealot and then a Stalker, and he's going to be Chrono Boosting his Warp Gate a little bit. Of course, we can keep an eye on that in the production tab, see who's ahead of whom, and in this case, our red player is, but he's operating off of 2 gas, which means it's unlikely he's going for a traditional 4-gate. Could possibly be a Sentry-based expansion until he decides to put out some kind of tech, but he is really dumping a lot of Chrono Boost into that Warp Gate, and of course, we're going to see a Robo coming down for him now, and usually the Robo play is a bit more defensive. People like to generally Immortal expand, especially here on Daybreak, and just move into a macro game, because it's relatively easy to hold 3 bases here in the macro game in a PvP. And then once you go for that late game Colossus engagement, that's where it starts to get tricky. You really got to find yourself in a good spot. If you're caught here in between your Nexus and the wall while he moves into your 3rd, then you could be in trouble because you can't spread your Colossi properly. Now we do have a fast Nexus going down here for cShew. In fact, started just a little bit. After 5 minutes, it's a 1-gate expand, and Protoss are finding they can get away with this much more now. He saw that his opponent was opening 2 gas, but he also saw how much he had mined, so if he had kept 3 in gas the whole time, it likely would have been an aggressive blink move, and cShew would not have been going for this fast Nexus, but based on that read, he feels much safer doing what he's doing. And of course, Pulse has not yet seen this Nexus, and is not quite sure what his opponent is doing, but it looks like cShew is going to throw down a Robo and a couple more gates to get into a more defensive posture. We do have a pylon getting put down here on the right. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be aggressive. Whoa, excuse me, my house is coming down around my ears apparently. And it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be more aggressive, but it's always good to have pylons out on the map. We see, looks like Pulse did clean up the probe there that was trying to come up the ramp for cShew. And he is getting a Nexus down himself about a minute later, a little over a minute later than his opponents. So, of course, xOPulse is going to be in a good economic position, going sentry heavy for defense, and now he is going to get out an observer. Should pop out just in time to spot this one of Pulse, but will he be able to kill it with 2 sentries? That I am not sure of. He's going to get the sentries under. It warps in 2 more sentries, which I believe Pulse did see those warping in, so he'll be aware that his opponent is going very sentry heavy. But he still did not manage to get a scout on that Nexus timing, so that's something that could be a bit of a surprise to him in the coming moments. Meanwhile, he's still on 2 gates and a robo, going with a very minimalist army backed by the power of the Immortal. And both these players are playing very macro-style PvP, which could culminate in a large-scale Colossus battle, or we could see some Warp Prism aggression from both of these guys. Terrific on Daybreak because of the airspace, and as Protoss, unless you open Stargate, you really don't have a lot of options for stopping that Warp Prism aggression. We're going to see fast Colossus tech coming out here from Pulse, from XO Gaming, and his Nexus is about to finish. Probe count for these players, 33-31 in favor of xOPulse from Clarity Gaming. And we are going to see that he is adding on Colossus Tech as well, just a bit behind his opponent. And here we do see a Warp Prism coming out here for Pulse. And this is generally one of the more preferred ways to put aggression onto your opponent. Generally in PvP, you're going to either be all your units in your natural, or they're all going to be forward. You don't leave any behind. So if your opponent isn't being aggressive, it's unlikely you'll be able to warp in Zealots here, for example, and then just walk right into the natural. So a Warp Prism is definitely a good choice. We're not going to see anything of the sort from xOPulse at this moment. He hasn't gotten a scout on the Nexus either, as a matter of fact. But of course, based on unit positioning, he can make the correct assumption that his opponent is going to expand. Just now saturating these gases at the natural here. And ooh, we actually do have Warp Prism speed coming out for Pulse. So this is going to be some heavy Warp Prism aggression. And what is he loaded in there? Yes, it is the 2 Immortals. Probably one of my favorite parts of PvP is twin Immortal drops. But oh my god, xOPulse is actually going to see the Warp Prism coming down the right side. That is obviously going to be a huge tip-off. He's actually in position to deal with this sort of thing already. So this shouldn't be able to do too much damage, but 2 Immortals dropped on the ground. We'll have a pretty good chance against a bunch of sentries and 1 Immortal, especially with the Warp Prism Micro, and he is going to come in there. The Warp Prism speed has finished, so he is a quick little guy, and yeah, he is going to take this fight, and any sentry he can pick off is a big deal, but good Micro there from xOPulse is going to save those sentries. He's got to be so careful about the Colossi. One of the most potent parts of that Warp Prism Micro, Warp Prism Immortal drop, is picking off Colossi that get separated from the army, or even if they don't get separated from the army. Now, of course, Pulse also did see this pylon. He's going to manage to take that out, and xOPulse actually has pylon blocked his opponent's 3rd base, not going for a 3rd base of his own yet. And wow, we actually are going to see a reactive Stargate here from xOPulse. Where is that Stargate? There it is. As he will probably get out of Phoenix to deal with this Warp Prism. Of course, a speed Warp Prism with 2 Immortals in it is very dangerous, and it's absolutely worth it if you can kill it with the Phoenix. However, most of the time what will happen is he will drop those Immortals on the low ground just as soon as he can get far enough away from where they'll be safe, and maybe he'll lose the Warp Prism, but with its speed, he might actually be able to get home in time. Warp Prism with speed moves how fast? Not sure because it's fully loaded, but we'll get a chance to check in a second. I want to say 3.75. Oh, it's 3.38, and oh, he's taking shots on this Colossus and does not want to lose that. That makes the Warp Prism harassment so worth it. And then Phoenix moves. How fast does a Phoenix move? We'll have to wait for one to come out. These numbers, I keep forgetting them. He's going to come out here, pick off this pylon. Good cancel there from xOPulse. But Pulse is going to be able to be very annoying while he gets Colossi of his own out. The army supply in favor of xOPulse, though, 53-31. Of course, the investment in that Warp Prism speed and the Warp Prism itself did slow down the economy, or the military, rather, of Pulse. Both these guys have fairly even probe counts, a few more probes for Pulse, but at this point you are oversaturated in your 2 areas, so a probe advantage on 2 bases when it's 52-49 really doesn't matter. So now the Phoenix is coming, 4.25 move speed, which I believe is the same as a Hellion, if I'm not mistaken. And it is the Hellion of the Sky, and yeah, like I said, Pulse is just going to be able to get back home in time, lower those Immortals, and not lose too much. However, having the Stargate out means a couple of things. He can scout. He can deny further Warp Prism aggression because there's no way Pulse is going to risk losing 2 Immortals to a simple Phoenix. And he is one step closer to Mothership. We've seen more and more PvPs get to that late game where Motherships do actually make a difference. Now we see a 3rd Nexus is going down here for xOPulse. He secures that, lays down a pylon there as well. Looks like the pylon for xOPulse has been picked off, and Pulse might be looking to move into a 3rd. No, he's actually adding on 3 gates. That'll bring him up to a total of 6 gates, which isn't necessarily indicative of aggression, and we see he has a Twilight Council here too, so he's going to be going for upgrades. So there will be a 3rd Nexus coming down here, but will xOPulse be looking to stop it? Of course, he saw that pylon get attacked, which means likely his opponent is going to be placing down a Nexus, and at this point, he will be looking to deny that just as much as possible. The Colossus count 5-3 in favor of xOPulse from Clarity Gaming. Meanwhile, Pulse is in a defensive posture. The Warp Prism going to move around the south of the base here, but it actually doesn't have anything in it, so possibly a little bit of bait coming out here from Pulse. The Phoenix is on patrol, and how many Phoenix? Just the one Phoenix, and he's not making any more, so he did get that Stargate just for that one Phoenix to react to that Warp Prism harass, and you know, it's not bad. I don't see it a lot, but it can prevent a lot of damage and a lot of annoyance. If he didn't have this Phoenix out, there's no way he'd even feel comfortable in being this far out on the map. We see both players are going for charge. The upgrades for xOPulse are +1, and he does have +2 and +1 armor on the way. And we see +1/+1 done for Pulse, and he has +2/+2 on the way. So he's going to be a little bit ahead, charge on the way for both these players. A Dark Shrine coming up for our Red Protoss player from XO Gaming, so that is something he can use to his advantage. We don't see any cannons planted down. Nope, there we go. One in the mineral line there, and of course you do want to cover all those bases. Now we do have a couple Zealots in this Warp Prism, but the Phoenix is going to barely see it, but he's not going to attack it. And it's hard to keep your eyes in all places at once, but xOPulse does see it, and he should be able to throw down some more damage. And he has chipped away a little bit at that Warp Prism's hit points, rather than the shields, but he's not quite able to kill it, although he might be able to finish it off here. Of course, Phoenixes can shoot while moving, which is one of the benefits when it comes to chasing anything in the air. And this Warp Prism looks like it is actually going to go down, so that is one threat eliminated. We do not have another Warp Prism for the Red Protoss player. However, both of them do have their bases up. We see a couple of cannons going up here for Pulse. And it looks like there's not going to be any aggression laid on here by xOPulse. He is just going to sit back and get his base operational. Dark Shrine coming, Templar Archives on the way, as well as 5 more gateways and Warp Prism speed. So he doesn't want to be aggressive directly. He just wants to see if he can do the harass that his opponent could not quite pull off due to his Phoenixes. Now we do have the DT Shrine finished for Pulse. He's got eyes on all corners of the map here, but xOPulse is actually going to see these DTs, so he will be prepared for them. He has a single cannon, and look at that. He's laying down a couple more. He knows 2 DTs are totally capable of sniping this cannon, especially with +2 finishing relatively soon. And now this observer... Oh, well, there actually is not an observer here. Okay, no, there is an observer. It's just hidden among the ranks of the Colossi. Easy for those little buggers to get lost. I feel like they should just be able to phase through things. Of course, because they're so tiny and they're so ghost-like. But everything looks like a ghost when it's cloaked. An uncloaked observer, like an EMP'd observer, looks so weird. So very weird. So the DTs are not really going to do any damage, and he is just going to secure this base here. A DT, where's the other DT, actually? Is there only one now? No, it's somewhere. Where is he? Oh, okay, he's fighting over the tower with this Zealot here. Now, both these guys, Army Supply, looking actually, Pulse has a considerable advantage. The Colossus count 8 for Pulse and 8 for xOPulse, and Pulse is getting into that Archon count quicker. DT's warping in now for xOPulse. Where are those DTs warping in? Gotta find those guys. They are pretty important. Don't want to lose track of those. That single Phoenix is going to get picked off, but his work really has been done. And we see one DT is going to be going across the map, but well defended here is Pulse, so the DT harass shouldn't do too much. We see both these players taking their 4th at the front instead of down here, and of course this is much easier to defend all of your bases here. If you take it down here, you have to worry about Warpins coming in through this ramp. All that stuff can get you out of position, so taking the 4th here is a very normal choice here on Daybreak, especially in PvP. 3-3 on the way, and this is just a battle of the macro right now. Really no damage getting done. The Warp Prism harass didn't do anything. The DT harass hasn't done anything. How many DTs on the field do we have for Mr. xOPulse? If we take a look, it looks like there's 3 DTs on the field, and all 3 of them, hold on, 2 of them, they do look a lot like Zealots. 2 of them are in this Warp Prism, 1 of them is somewhere else. So he's going to be going for a vulnerable spot. We also have a big Zealot Warpin down here, which should be able to deal quite nicely with these cannons. They do have charge completed, +2 weapons and +2 armor on them. +1 armor, I should say. And ooh, he should probably be able to get the snipe on this Colossus tech. The army is completely out of position to deal with this. He's going to send a few Zealots back, and he's going to send the remainder of his army forward to catch any kind of movement. I like this here. He's positioning himself in front of that choke to make sure that the units don't get a good spread. But it looks like the Robotics Bay has gone down. The Immortal back here, oh, does not want that Zealot versus Immortal fight. Pulse is going to be able to clean this up, except there is no detection here in the main. He needs to get closer to that cannon to deal with these DTs, and it looks like xOPulse is not quite going to pull back there. But meanwhile, xOPulse has just completely moved into the 4th and is taking it out as Pulse went back to deal with the Zealots over at his 3rd. And this is a very well executed attack for the player from Clarity Gaming. But now the engagement is going to happen, and either one of these players could win this. The Army Supply in favor of Pulse. but the DTs are actually still running rampant. More warp-ins from the Warp Prism. Of course, that was not taken care of. Shu going to retreat to a defensive position, start spreading those Colossi and getting those warp-ins because he knows he has done terrific economic damage and structural damage as well. He took down that Colossus tech. It looks like he's actually going to get the Forges. Not before 3-3 finishes, though. And Pulse is going to choose this moment to engage. Is it going to be enough? This Colossus getting picked off. The upgrades are in his favor, but only by 1 armor, which does not matter that much. And GG, well played from Pulse, as Shu is going to take this first game in this best of 7 between Clarity Gaming and XO Gaming and put Clarity Gaming up 1-0. Let's move into the next game.